Hello, everyone. Today I would like to talk about breaking silos and product development. My name is Raphaela Wrede. I'm a Ruby developer who turned engineering manager. I'm from Berlin. I'm currently working at Contentful, previously Travis CI and Babel. I'm also a part-time student of sociology and political sciences and a lover of Berlin currywurst, but also haute cuisine française. I guess what I want to say by this is that those two here go really well for me together, almost as good as those two on this picture. But jokes aside, let's get back to my talk. I would like to start by showing you how two real-life projects from my personal career have felt like. Let's look at Project A. So in this case, my disempowered team was assigned predefined work. The work felt uninspiring and the feature idea didn't have the team's buy-in. This was because the team didn't believe that this was really something that the customer wanted. It is true that a certain amount of customers kept asking for the feature. But besides that, there wasn't any sufficient quantitative data to prove that a large enough portion of customers actually needed it. Unfortunately, and even worse, the complexity to build it was very high. It meant that it took a team of some of the most senior engineers of the company to spend several months to ship a first version to finally test customer adoption and the original assumptions of their product manager. The return on investment for this project was a complete disaster. In the end, lots of money had been burned and the team demoralized. Let's look at Project B.
Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
This gas is literally poisoning the astronauts with every breath.
In the second example, my team was only given a high-level objective and some business context. Like in the movie, the goal to build a filter with some constraints. But besides that, we had the full freedom to come up with a possible solution ourselves. A very diverse mix of people from support, product design, engineering, user research, and analytics spent 5 days in a room together with a professional facilitator, brainstorming ideas, discussing, doing rapid prototyping, and even testing their prototypes at the end of the week with real customers. This process is called a design sprint, and it was invented at Google. After 5 days, the team decided to implement a feature that they regarded as low-hanging fruit in terms of complexity, but at the same time promising to solve the problem at hand. After only 2 weeks, the team was able to test customer adoption on production to decide if it was worth spending more time on the idea. As you might have seen from those 2 videos, the difference in team engagement and the unfolding development process was very noticeable, and it felt very eye-opening to me. Project B was also a lot less risky because of early user testing. And though books like The Lean Startup by Eric Ries already became very popular 10 years ago, it is true that unfortunately most products are still built like an example A in the software industry. And I have worked on a lot of projects like that. In fact, too many. And this has often felt so frustrating and demotivating to me and the teams I've been working on. But I always remembered, and I could not forget, how different it had felt when we ran the design sprint. Project B had felt so creative, so empowering, and so engaging, like a much more mature and elevated way of working together in a team. So I wanted to know more and became more and more interested in the general question, how are the really great companies doing product? I was thinking about the really innovative companies out there, the Amazons, Apples, and the Googles. And I wondered, how are those companies able to create environments that leverage innovation and creativity? And how do those companies make sure to spend their time wisely and only on their most promising ideas? So I started to do more and more research on the product topic. So what I did, and one typically does, right? You subscribe to some great product podcasts, you get yourself popular books on the topic, you watch some product talks online. And over time, I developed a much better understanding about what really good product management seems to entail. And I learned that there's a huge discrepancy between how the bad or mediocre and the great product companies seem to be doing it. So if I've done a good job in this talk to this point, you have also become a bit curious and want to know more. I hope so. So how is product done right? And unfortunately, I will have to answer by telling you that, of course, there is no silver bullet, as so often, right? And I won't have a simple recipe here for you to just follow. But I found out that there are some principles and patterns that great product organizations seem to have in common. Interestingly, those companies can have pretty different company cultures. If you think of very innovative companies that have often disrupted markets like Amazon, Google, and Apple, all of them have pretty different company cultures. So it seems broad cultural nuances can exist, but some ingredients and principles are shared across the board, which make up great product cultures. So let's look at some of those shared principles together. I have picked 4 of them for this talk that have been popping up repeatedly during my research. First, great product organizations seem to clearly distinguish 2 main phases or work streams when building products. They make the distinction between product discovery and product delivery, whereas the bad or mediocre companies are mostly concentrated on only product delivery. Scrum, for example, is typically only about the delivery part. During discovery, evidence is collected to separate the good ideas from the bad. Therefore, a series of experiments is conducted using rapid prototyping to discover solutions to a given problem. Product discovery is done to carefully address the 4 most critical risks when building digital products and as soon as possible. The value risk, where we ask ourselves, will the user buy the product or choose to use it? The usability risk, can the user figure out how to use it? The feasibility risk, can we build it? And the business viability risk, does the solution work for our business? Addressing those risks requires that the product management team which is driving all of this, involves experts from a lot of other departments very early on. So on this slide, you see that you might want to involve the design and the UX team to address the usability risk. Or you might want to talk to some engineers to address the feasibility risk. Only if an idea appears promising enough during product discovery, the idea will eventually make it onto the product roadmap to get prioritized for the product delivery work stream, where the first line of production code will be written. If you do discovery right, not more than a third of your original ideas should make it into delivery. This is because our ideas are usually bad ideas. If most of your ideas make it straight into delivery, you are doing it wrong, and you are very likely burning time and money, like in the video that I showed in the beginning. Secondly, great product organizations live and foster an experimentation mindset. For example, instead of defining the exact solutions in every detail beforehand, they make short and time-bound bets by asking themselves, how much are we willing to invest in a solution for a certain problem? The product team is then given the autonomy to experiment and come up with a solution that they can build within the maximum time span. Also, the success of already shipped work is constantly measured. For example, by defining key performance metrics beforehand, by building user event tracking into the shipped solution from the very beginning, by doing A/B testing, and by involving analytics and user research. This is to decide if it will be worth to iterate further on the current solution. Even more importantly, great product teams have the courage to kill unsuccessful features that have been shipped and that have not shown the desired results. It is never easy to make that call, but doing so will reduce the complexity of the user interface and the code base. I've seen that a lot, and I personally think that it's a real pity that so many companies blow their code bases with features that no one actually uses, but that are then kept forever, and of course also need to get maintained forever, and therefore causing unnecessary work, I believe. It is also very important to note that in great product cultures, learning through such above-mentioned failures is still regarded as a success, because the organization has still learned something. It has learned a lot about what doesn't work. Next. Great product cultures have empowered and autonomous teams. And those empowered teams are often assigned problems, not fully fledged out work. And they come up with the exact solutions to those problems themselves. So working this way might not make sense for every little thing that you need to build. But there are certain problem types where it can be extremely helpful to implement such ways of working. Facilitated brainstorming techniques can be very helpful in this regard. In my current company, as an example, we are making heavy use of user story mapping sessions and design sprints for certain problem types. Working this way boils down to one single word: trust. It is required that management hires people that they can regard as trustworthy, and then managers need to stop micromanaging their highly skilled experts. A prerequisite for autonomous teams is that they are staffed cross-functionally and with people of sufficient seniority and competence in order to be as independent from outside resources as possible. Last but not least, to not end up in a creative chaos, great product organizations equip their autonomous teams with the business context they are supposed to operate in. Only then teams will be enabled to make good autonomous decisions. One way to achieve this is to form teams around a customer-centric mission. For example, around a part of the user's journey or around certain customer personas. This is to make the team real experts for certain product areas and to not lose focus on the customer's needs and their perspectives. Another way to do this is to implement some form of OKR framework, which is supposed to create alignment between departments and teams by the definition of high-level objectives on every level of the company and that contribute to an overarching company strategy or mission. Therefore, OKR systems are also set to favor an outcome-oriented or mission-driven way of working over an output-oriented way of achieving results. All of this is also reflected in the language and terminology that gets associated with bad and great product cultures. So you might have a top-down approach or a more collaborative approach. Or people might talk about the project mindset on the one hand and the product mindset on the other hand. Or, as I just said, you might pursue an output-oriented way of achieving results or an outcome-oriented way. Today, I believe that as engineers, we should care and know more about how great products are built. Of course, we need to know and learn so many other things already. Technology changes fast, and we need to stay on top of innovations all the time, we feel. And this is true to a large extent, I agree. But at the same time, it is also true that we are impacted heavily by how software products are built in our companies today. And if this does not feel innovative and engaging to us, and if in the end we are too often working on features and products that nobody wanted in the first place, it does not really matter with what technology we are building those unoriginal products, I believe. So go T-shape yourself with some product knowledge, is my message for you today. Interestingly, we are talking a lot about T-shaping ourselves as engineers, but I wonder why we never mean learning a bit more about product management, though this craft impacts our lives so much. Also, if you only knew a bit more about those things, you would be able to ask the right questions in your upcoming job interviews in order to find a great product company as your next employer yourself, to finally start shipping work that really matters. Also, I noticed that I have been to so many tech conferences and tech meetups, but I've never heard a single talk on product management nor product discovery there. And thanks, by the way, for having me here with this talk, which is also a bit unconventional for a tech conference. Today I'm convinced that we need to break silos between engineering and product and instead build bridges to help make our product organizations more successful together. We need to level up our knowledge about state-of-the-art product discovery and management to reduce the huge chasm between the mediocre and the great product companies out there. If not, we will have to continue watching how our unoriginal product companies disappear or get absorbed as more innovative competitors are disrupting the market. And we for sure don't want that. Thank you very much. If you want to read more, I will publish the slides later on here, some resources that I found very helpful to start with something. And if you have questions and want to talk more, I will make myself available later. Just come to me and reach out. Thank you.